change that.
Howdy doody, everybody. Top of the hour, which means we are live discussing stuff
Yeah, it's
about wrestling.
Sunday night, or Monday afternoon, or Monday morning, or sometime when you're watching this, whether it's live or in archive. So, welcome to another edition of the weekly wrap up here on the Popcast Network. My name is Owen. I am your moderator for most of the show, and I will throw my 2 cents in left and right. Joining us, of course, basically the host of the show. That is the true voice of professional wrestling here on the Popcast Network, and that is Ashley.
The only way that I'm the host of the show is I'm actually streaming this. Mainly.
You'll be talking more than I will be, so.
Well, to some extent. To some extent.
Weird dust particle on my screen.
Not dramatically. I'd have thought. Mainly because it's been a quieter week.
Yeah, I don't think we're going. I don't think there's any pop in 3 hours tonight.
We don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to go super long. Because
But
although some things have been happening, it's not as extensive as Black Wednesday.
No, but there's still some ramifications that could be just as bad, if not worse, for some people if they come to fruition. But we'll talk about that later.
True.
Something not very PC in this case.
Yeah, something not PC and something which could be seen as very bad manipulation as well.
Mm-hmm.
In a separate issue that isn't related to the first one.
Yeah. 2 things before we get started. Number one, Ashley, it is still 7 hours before this podcast starts. And it is apparently the 19th still.
Well, when I changed it, it said 27th at 1 in the morning my time, so.
I'll fix it later. It's okay. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Impact did their...
right, I know what you mean now. Yeah, I never changed the title.
You will, don't worry. Impact basically did their Rebellion pay-per-view, but did it on Access instead.
Part 1.
So they're doing it in halves, getting ready to say, in halves, without their tag team and world champions. But we'll get to that later. And they've also filmed all the way up until, I believe, July?
That's the word, yeah. Because we don't really have any taping results because nobody was there. It's like old school wrestling. We have to watch the stuff. It's like Saturday, yesterday, SmackDown was taped for the next 2 weeks. We haven't heard a thing.
And we're not going to. So, yeah, lots have been going on. I got to watch... I talked about the social distancing match recently, of course, with Joey Janela and Jimmy Lloyd, which I think I need to watch it again, actually. And someone very nice, probably broke a lot of rules, but thank you for doing it and risking everything just to film it. The Secrets of Spring Break featuring Joey Janela was actually uploaded on YouTube.
Uh-oh.
So one part is basically like clips, and the other part is an entire hour. And they show a few matches as well. One of which being Walter and PCO. They show the cluster. Yeah, they show the cluster, of course, and that's as far as I'm going to say because I don't curse on this network.
Cluster
and flow. Yes, exactly. And it was giving some secret details, of course. Bryce was there, and Julian was there, the artist currently known as Ethan Page. And Nick Gage actually showed up at one point, and he said he wanted to fight people. And he was promoting his fight against Effie that night. So that would... But yeah, currently on independent wrestling television, airing right now here in the East Coast, would be the fact that they are going to be very soon airing the Nick Gage Invitational.
So. I think it went live at 7:30 Eastern, so we're probably going head to head with it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Oops.
I still have not decided to pull the trigger on that or not. It depends. I've also got something in mind, Ashley, potentially maybe joining a Patreon for the Major Wrestling Figures podcast, which I've
Uh-oh.
been listening to nonstop
Uh-oh.
lately. Yep. Yes, I've been listening to it nonstop, and I have not made the purchase of the shirts yet. I have to decide which ones I want to buy. But yeah, I have a pro wrestling tees order, which most likely is going to be between 6 to 8 shirts. That's going to be coming out sooner rather than later.
Extreme.
I don't even buy wrestling figures. It's just I don't care. It's just entertaining. Matt and Brian are awesome.
You already know.
Exactly. And if you don't know, then now you do.
Then you know.
Exactly. Unless it's
That
Matt
was a
Bentley, and
that was
then
Biggie,
you
wasn't it?
still don't know.
That was Biggie,
What?
wasn't it? If you don't
Yeah.
know, then you know. I can't remember the name of the song.
If you don't know, then figure it out.
Uh-oh.
Quoting Johnny Ace there. So from
Can't wait
WXO.
for Series 3 of that on the network.
Rest in peace, Super Dave Osborne.
So,
Never been to the network before. So we're gonna go day by day through everything that's been going on lately, and then also get into
the
news.
news will be
And
later. We'll on day by day. We're gonna go through. Let me have a look at what we've got here. Um, I'll leave Dark Side the ring because that's not sort of in-ring action really. So we'll have Raw, we'll have Dark, we'll have a little bit of NWA Superpower.
BTE 200.
Yeah. Rebellion Night 1, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown. I've been hearing good things about MLW, so I might just do a read through of that. And then also main event, because a revelation happened apparently on main event, which after having watched it, I sort of understand. We'll get to that. Because we have to
Okay.
start off all the way back at Monday for Raw with Drew basically addressing the attack at the end of last week's Raw, which it ultimately ends in Seth being challenged to a title match at Money in the Bank. But then Zelina interrupted and, in her best Scottish style accent, she went, "Hey, Drew!" And bloody Drew went, "Aye, Zelina, the thorn in my ass." So it's like, yes! So, because Garza's facing him tonight, because apparently Job Squad is needed because they're the closest thing to Seth. Or something. The first match itself, Aleister Black beat Austin Theory. Went about 10-11 minutes. They gave a lot of they gave a lot of push to Theory, but at the same time, it's like, Black had to look strong and win. The
He
we-
does have new merch powers after all.
the weird thing, of course, they didn't try and do any sort of oblique reference to Vega and Black, despite they being married and all, which I think is a missed
Seems like
opportunity.
I think it seems like they're trying to stay away from that a little bit too.
Everybody else gets brought up that they're somehow related when they're
It
not.
makes sense in their story for that to be the case.
We'll get to the ramifications of that in a bit. But yeah, Black Mass understandably got the win. But then Aleister Black basically said he didn't know much about corporate life and guessed that he'd have to cover up his tattoos, but promised that each floor would turn each of his opponents into their own personal hell. Like Game of Death.
So is this a state of panic
I don't know.
or Legends of the Hidden Temple?
No, it's. I was gonna say Game of Death because I'm hoping people actually, No, it needs to be sort of Game of Death meets Lucha Underground, as in
I'm
people
sticking with
need
the
to
rage.
actually die, but in kayfabe sense. I
Well,
mean,
they did
AJ's dead. We haven't seen him since. We
just
we need more
just
AJ.
just on Twitch. That's about it.
Um. Then we had Shayna Baszler beating Indy Hartwell. They brought up the Sarah Logan thing, and with the arm break, and Baszler just said, "Did I break any rules? No, I just broke her arm." Indy managed to avoid it. Nearly got a win, and then did the arm stomp again. And they called for the bell, and Shayna wins.
Right.
Then Baszler brought a ladder to ringside. Did the old the ankle swing into the barricade and the ladder, and they're really trying to make Baszler as this super evil heel. Problem is, Nia Jax is on the same brand, so what are we doing? Which is the one that I'm supposed to be scared the shit out of more? The one who legit hurt people,
For the one who
or the
legitly hurts
one,
people.
or the one who makes it like they legit hurt people? Then Ricochet and Cedric Alexander beat Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink. He's back again, the bastard.
Do they have any other tag teams? No, they don't.
Then Kyrie and Asuka were interviewed backstage because Kyrie's getting a rematch against Nia.
Oh no.
Then
Oh
Bobby,
no.
then Bobby Lashley's at the gym inside the Performance Center. And Lashley is gonna flip a giant tractor tire to show how fit he is. This is the start of the revelation that yes, the marital strife that was affecting their relationship is now gone. They are in a perfect relationship now, somehow.
Who cares? Next segment.
Oh, hour 2. Jackson Sane.
I heard about this and I saw it too. Dear God. She is. Oh my God.
So Jax basically she was trying to do the power bomb style move.
It looked like a hanging. It looked like a hanging tree slam from my vantage point.
Well, the key thing is, if she was doing it in the center of the ring, it would have been a power slam.
Okay.
If she was doing it in the corner, it would have been a buckle bomb. Or
Right.
not power slam, power bomb.
I got you.
Because Nia was at that perfect distance, it instead became Kyrie's head legit caught the back of the turnbuckle. A woman who, less than 2 months ago, got a concussion.
Yep.
Nia decides to spin this into Ronda Rousey stuff. I throw heat at Tamina because of her dad.
Right.
But at least she's more often safer.
Oh, she's very safe. She sucks in the ring, but she's safe.
She's a safer Samoan.
Yeah, totally. It looked bad too.
Yeah, it was just. So Jax is legit injuring people, and Shayna is mock injuring people. What happens when they meet? The fucking world explodes.
Well, it's like what I've been saying on here about
I
Alicia Fox for the longest time.
as soon as they touch like fingertips, the entire structure of Stamford, Connecticut is just going to collapse as if it's, been blown up for bloody controlled demolition. That's what's going to happen. Mock botch meets real botch. That's the ultimate botchamania.
And you see Matthew in the corner with his popcorn.
Yeah. Well, we know what's going to be on 409, is it?
I think so. That's why I watched it the other day. That's the only WWE I see is on Botchamania and on like WrestleMania and Wrestling with Regret.
So Seth in a remote location, noting how both him and Drew have both beaten Brock at WrestleMania. Rollins accepts the challenge not out of respect or even disdain. It's not personal, it's necessary. WWE needs a leader, but as much as they had in common, Seth was a proven leader and Drew isn't. Seth will be the light in the darkness and will take the title not because he wants to, but because he has to. Now, this angle is so much better than all the stupid other shit. Now that he doesn't have a following, seemingly, now that he's just one-man army, he seems more menacing. He doesn't need a pack of, Authors of Pain or Buddy Murphy to seem like an actual threat. Well, to be honest, it didn't. That was just the same. But Murphy and AOP were basically his Mercury and Noble.
I could see that.
His lapdogs. Whereas now, it's like, he's become so twisted because of what the people, urged him to do.
But Ashley, I don't want to see another Seth Rollins title reign.
I don't think it is, at least for now.
It's not going to happen yet, but I'm worried that's probably where we're headed.
I think Seth's putting Drew over. My question is,
Money in the Bank for sure.
Who's going to be the person that's going to be the credible enough threat for Drew?
There's nobody.
Because if it's Seth suddenly coming back in August and then getting it, they shouldn't have done it immediately.
Well, if he was built up properly, the person that I would put after Drew is Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, but I don't want to see him win the title.
No, but they had good matches in Impact.
Yeah, but
and they know how to work with each other. Lashley would be somebody completely fresh, and once they get rid of the stupid storyline they're doing with him, he'd be a credible opponent.
They've been pushing the Andrade stuff and just...
They're not wanting to pull the trigger on him, though. That's the thing.
I'm just trying to work out who else. I mean, there's nobody, because we don't see enough of them because of the way that they're taping and whatever, but...
I mean, the answer is Adam Cole brought up to the main roster, but I don't want that to happen either.
I'm just trying to work out if there is anybody on that roster that could come up. In a similar way to Belair. Okay, they haven't won, the NXT men's title, but the irony would be Balor. Speaking of ironies, Viking Raiders, I guess, are the new Revival.
Oh god, yeah, I heard about this. The carpool
Carpool
karaoke.
karaoke with Ivar eating a giant turkey drumstick or whatever.
This
So
is the stuff I used to trash heavy machinery for.
when they do it, it has charm because obviously Otis gets the comedy stuff. War Machine were never comedy
No,
anywhere.
they're not. They should be destroying people. They should not be.
They need to be demolition, except
Yeah, exactly.
face demolition, or I guess Legion of Doom.
You know they don't care about the tag division though, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Apollo Crews beat MVP in about 8 minutes. It was okay. Certainly the Enziguri into press slam, into standing moonsault, into standing shooting star, and spit out power bomb, like
Mm.
as if it was a combo from Crews.
Oh, the cruise missile, I used to call it. Yeah, I remember calling those
Was good.
matches.
And ruined by Tom Phillips saying that's the biggest win of Apollo's career, and I'm like, Dragon Gate will say otherwise. Also, Apollo Crews is just there to fill the numbers, let's be honest. Then Ruby Riott is asked about the Riot Squad and with Liv Morgan and Ruby saying there was never a squad. She had double shoulder surgery because she had to carry both of her partners on her back. Now Logan's got a broken arm and Liv might leave here with broken arms. Liv may think she's all grown up, but she'll find out how small and lonely and weak she is without having me with her. So the angle we're still doing is Sarah Logan has a broken arm. The weird thing is, apparently Logan was supposed to be part of the show.
Yeah, she was written into the show
Until they nixed
originally.
it last minute.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of people saying you shouldn't have fired her.
Well, here's the thing. Again, it's that thing that was brought up earlier this week. When it comes down to it, no matter if they've been fired or not, they're still being paid. So technically speaking, if they want to use them, they still can, and that's what they're doing.
We'll get to that.
I know. We'll talk about him later.
Then Lashley flips the tire, but now he's got to flip the Uber tire.
If I want to watch World's Strongest Man competitions, I turn on ESPN2 at 3 in the morning. This does nothing for building Lashley up as a threat.
Mysterio beat Murphy in what do you expect to be a good match.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to see him swing around ropes and poles around the Titan Towers.
And then the continuing angle of Caruso being put into storylines. Basically, Vega kept mocking Charlie and intimated that the plan that she's got with Drew is going perfect. But then afterwards, after she goes off, after Zelina disappears, Garza says, you can ask me how it feels to be a champion after the match tonight. And she goes, I could do that. Doing with that implication.
Why are they trying to do this?
Then Charlotte Flair beat Kaden Carter in a squash match. And I'm like, okay. Then Lashley was struggling with the tire, but eventually managed to do it. Worth noting, one of the pieces of exercise equipment had an NXT logo in the back. they tried putting black tape over the NXT logo as if
Oh
to not
no.
acknowledge it, but the tape sort of slightly peeled off. Which it's like, look, the amount of NXT stars that are on Raw now is giant, and it's on the same network. It's not like it's Fox and USA. They're on the same network. Why are we trying to acknowledge that it doesn't exist? Then
Okay.
Andrade beat Tozawa in about 5 minutes. Nice little match, because you'd expect between two sort of cruiserweight style wrestlers.
Mm.
Then Street Profits were dancing away on the stage and by the commentary, because Bianca Belair's in action against Santana Garrett. Bianca won with the KOD. Street Profits lost their shit at this. It was okay. It's very much a whole, if you like the shenanigans of Street Profits, you're gonna love it. If you don't, you're gonna hate it.
Ooh, then I'm not watching that.
Well,
I've never liked Street Profits.
it said as much. Byron was getting excited with them, and Tom Phillips just basically said, "Shut up," and it sort of calmed down.
Hmm.
And then, with about 7 or 8 minutes left, again,
Oh God.
Drew McIntyre beats Angel Garza with a Claymore, obviously. He let the announce team know that he was going to hit another kick, so he went to the ring, gave another Claymore to Garza. Then Austin Theory got in the ring, Claymore kick. Andrade got too close to his belt, so Drew chased him. Then Andrade bailed. Drew did a baseball slide to pick up his belt, posed with it. In a nice sort of little very much his equivalent of Naito, sort of like going for the dive and then just doing the chair and the
I saw it. I
casual
saw the
waiting.
picture. Yeah.
So yeah, some good stuff. Now, we'll first mention Dark before we get to being the Elite, because there's less going on, because episode 200, pretty big.
Yeah. What?
Penelope Ford beat Anna Jay with a Fisherman Suplex, which was pretty good.
So, considering the fact that Anna Jay has only in 10 professional matches,
Yeah.
it's a kudos to her for having such great presence so early in her career. She's just going to get better too.
And then Cody beat up Joe Alonso.
Yeah, he wins with a Gil lock, and that is a tribute to Gail Kim, which Cody definitely said on Twitter. Yeah, a solid match. Joe Alonso's really good. The thing you'll notice about the AEW matches versus the WWE quote unquote squash matches, it's something I've done a lot recently, and I totally agree with it. When it comes down to it, the WWE use these people as enhancement talent to their roster members. AEW are not using anyone. They're basically just giving an opportunity to somebody who doesn't work for the company to get their face out there. They may not get signed by AEW, but someone, when everything finally rights itself in the world, may come a knocking because they saw them have a solid match on AEW. And they're a lot more competitive that way too. And we still have multiple weeks of television that was taped in Decatur, Georgia, at the Nightmare Factory. But we're probably going to see a lot of that on Dark, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you watch Dark specifically, if you watch it, like obviously I, the thing is, when it comes down to it, you have to look at the fact that when you see those replays after the finish of the match, what you see is the Dynamite logo. So you don't really see Dark very often. It says Dynamite. So this match could have been on Dynamite. It probably would have been on Dynamite, but they're putting it on Dark instead because all bets are off with being able to tape again in a couple weeks. But yeah, it was a solid show, and of course beforehand on they do the road to the TNT Championship segments, and Dustin talks about if he is going to not beat Kip Sabian, then he'll retire. And they had, of course, the ongoing frenemy battle with Tony and Britt Baker continues. That was entertaining, and there's a lot of really good stuff on Dark that doesn't really get enough praise. A lot of good matches, period, that don't get enough praise right now because of the way the matches take place. Would the matches have been better with crowds? Absolutely, but this is what we have to deal with now, and you just got to look at it for the wrestling match that it is.
And then being the Elite 200.
Good lord.
Which I'm trying to remember, did it have Cabana?
Yes, of course. Of course, Cabana was in there. Gotta find out where it was here.
Was it in the montage?
Yes, still counts.
Yeah, I was going to say, still counts. Because it was predominantly
The match.
just Matt and Nick. Which I think, certainly from the style, it was their hybrid of Firefly Funhouse, if I can say it properly in English, and Boneyard match.
I mean, if you want to talk about a way to do this match properly, this was it. They had no ring. They didn't need one. It was a straight up backyard wrestling match that did not have to have any wrestling at all, but had some amazing spots in it. I love
Golf
the Canadian
carts.
Destroyer into the pool. Huh?
Golf carts.
The golf cart going from house to house.
I
Yeah.
still remember the last time we remember a golf cart and Raven nearly killed WrestleMania.
I mean, there was some great stuff here. I love how he hits the Northern Lights suplexes. He did the locomotion Northern Lights. He did 5 times. And then at the end, Nick goes, I can't believe you did 5 Northern Lights. I was like, yeah. And of course, there was one time when they were fighting and their kids were watching through the window. And next thing you know, you saw her just come in and just shut the blinds.
And then the whole magic with Matt Jackson
God.
becoming Giannetti.
Merch
And Nick.
freak. The barbershop window. Oh my God. And then, of course, the glass breaks. And then we get to that platform that's on top of the hill. And then
Smacks him in the
he
back
breaks
with a
that and
shovel.
wants to do the super kick, but of course he's got thumbtacks on his boots.
Don't forget the smack in the back with the shovel, a la Boneyard.
And then he super kicks him after, of course, he does the Ric Flair Shawn Michaels.
I'm sorry, I love you.
Of course.
And then the elbow drop through the table.
Yeah, there was a swanton off the top of like a pool house to a table. That was great. I enjoyed that. And then after the super kick happens, that there was the flying elbow off the top platform, and that was the end of it.
Afterwards, they say what a good match it was, and they can't believe that they make it to 200 episodes. We then get the montage.
Which, by the way, Ashley, I just finished watching. They put up a 45-minute version of the montage that focuses on all the BT episodes of from the last 200,
Mm-hmm.
and that's online now.
But
And then,
they
of course,
get in the vehicle and go, where to next? And for the first time ever, I don't know. And Nick goes, actually, there's one more thing that we need to do. And it immediately cuts to him with his Nick with his laptop and going, you like that video? I hope you did. As if it's like bloody Hideo Kojima, like breaking the fourth wall. um, the implication was, at least from social media afterwards, that they still are gonna do more. Although I don't know
oh
if it's
yeah,
going to
for
be on a
sure.
weekly basis.
I mean, the what I just mentioned a few minutes ago, the fact that they just put up the highlights of the two episodes, that's the episode for this week. It's not 201, it's just like highlights of 200.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not labeled as BTE 201 either. So lots of different things we have to go back into. Obviously, we need to find Luchasaurus's tail.
That's important.
I want to I want to find out more about the budding relationship of Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander. That was kind of glossed over a little bit. How drunk is Adam Page right now? Why do we keep seeing people like Joey Ryan and Ty Valkyrie up on BT? Still, I'll tell you right now, I don't know what the Impact contracts are like, but I have a good feeling there's a good possibility a lot of them are gonna the ones that we see on BTE are probably gonna be signing over sooner rather than later.
We'll see.
Because I know one person specifically from Impact that I can honestly see going over to AEW at some point, and that is Ethan Page.
It's not confidence, it's all ego.
Exactly.
NWA, it's basically a preview of Superpower that they put up.
Okay.
It was about 25 minutes, mainly focusing on Camille.
I
And,
heard about is
and
she didn't she having her first match soon?
it was actually part of a show.
Okay.
Aldis basically said how All In Brandy got involved and played a role in him losing the title to Cody. So
Right.
that's why Camille was brought in. Um, and eventually it sort of has moved into Camille now becoming an in-ring competitor herself rather than just hired heavy sort of thing. And they broadcast her, I think it was her first match against Maddie Max.
Okay.
She won. You can also tell she's not just because she's wearing green, but she's actually pretty green. I was actually looking at her cage match profile.
Mm-hmm.
She has had 33 matches
Wow.
in the space of about 3 years. 19th of May was her first wrestling match, at least listed in her previous persona as Camilla Kane. Thing is, it's interesting. She did a lot in 2017 and a lot until July 2018. Then you have to jump to November 2019 when she
Wow.
lost to Katie Forbes at a Fight Forever tribute to Bret Hart show in Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
And then the apparently it wasn't even the actual first match because they taped on the 25th her beating Selena Rose, and the Maddie Max one. I keep wanting to say Mad Max. Was taped on the 26th of January, the day after. So yeah, she is very green, but at the same time, she was putting herself over right. You know, she's only doing the basics. She isn't trying to do anything sort of stupid, and she looks like a badass. She's.
That's good.
I don't want to compare her to China because then obviously, that sort of big boots to fill. But it's that sort of like menace because Camille says very little. It's sort of just the look and the stature and sort of, doing the bare minimum, but doing it good enough that it looks like, well, if the basics are taking, these wrestlers that she's facing against down, imagine what happens when she isn't doing the basics and moves on, to tier 2, if you will, or whatever. This is basically a preview for NWA Superpower that's going to be airing at some point next month, which isn't saying much because next month is literally about only a week away. But yeah, it's quote unquote a lost episode, aka this is the episode that they didn't show because Jim Cornette's voice was over it the week after that racist comment made it out on the NWA Power. Because if you remember, there was that next episode that was going to air and they didn't air it.
Right.
Because it was the last one of the tapings.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is they've re-recorded it now with Stu
cool.
probably doing the commentary. So we can get away with that and all sort of things. So, moving on to Impact Rebellion. It was OVE taking on Rhino, Tommy Dreamer, and Crazy Steve.
That's awesome. He's back.
Crazy Steve is back. It was good to see him back, but at the same time, he was the one point of this that made it really not great. It was there. Mainly because I don't see Crazy Steve that much as a hardcore wrestler. If you look at the whole, deletion stuff and everything, it was mainly, Decay, I should say. It was mainly Rosemary, and it was mainly Abyss. Crazy Steve was just the add-on, at least in my opinion.
Well, considering the fact that those were the tapings I went to
and
myself.
When you're in the ring with OVE, especially the Chris brothers, and also Rhino and Tommy Dreamer, it's like Crazy Steve is somewhat. I was gonna say, if everybody else is hardcore, he'd be like the edited versions that air on HBO, because they don't want to go too far on the on cable television.
They went pretty far in those Decay matches. Decay versus EYFBO?
Yeah, but again, it's more EYFBO and Abyss and Rosemary.
Steve did a lot. Went back and looked at a lot of the pictures. Steve did a whole lot in those matches. A lot more than people give him credit for.
It's good to see him back, though.
Yeah.
Tessa Blanchard and Eddie Edwards are both in isolation.
Yep.
So there is no title match because we. Then the Rascals beat Falabar and TJP and XXXL in a triple threat,
Blatant gimmick stealers.
which was good, mainly in the sense of it was good between the three of them, I should say. Nothing spectacular. Nothing
Fair.
yet where I'm like, this should have been on pay-per-view. So then the North sent their message. I do like the whole idea of they're not stuck in Canada. We're making sure that Canada is safe. Because we don't want to go to America, we're making an open challenge to Canada's best. And I'm
Remember what I said last week?
And I'm like,
remember what I said last week?
And I'm like, but 3.0 are in NXT.
Remember what I said last week about Petey Williams and Eric Young versus the North? It's going to happen.
No, honestly, I think it should be the team in Alpha 1. I can't remember who's teaming with Space Monkey right now.
Well, one of the ones I will throw out right now would be the Flatliners, but that's dead and gone now. We're talking about Canada's best.
I can't remember who's teaming with Space Monkey. But that team. Mainly it's just because I want to see Space Monkey on Impact.
Eric Young and Petey Williams.
Rich Swann then hyped up Willie Mack in terms of his X Division title opportunity, which lo and behold he won. And because it's Ace Austin and Willie Mack, these guys had a hell of a match. Six-star frog splash, following the stunner, of course, which I think only happened and only became part of his bandwagon because of the match he had with ACH at PWG when ACH became Dwayne. And Willie Mack became Steve, from what I vaguely remember. But yeah, really good from those two. Then Johnny Swinger showed up and said the Mac and Pat connection will live forever and wants a title shot. Swan and Mac are going to a party, and of course Johnny Swinger tagged on to it because lol. Kylie Ray then was up against Kira Hogan. Kira doing a good heel promo and hype up for Kylie and everything, and because rather than being sort of a quick squash match, they actually gave it a back and forth, and it was actually for the better. You know, it makes you wonder if they were given more time in a situation, what they'd be able to do. Certainly. So, the card for next week, because Madison Rayne and Joey Matthews are doing commentary together.
Josh Matthews?
I don't know. Treat Joey Lawrence. Something. Mr. and Mrs. Be nice to each other. So the card next week, we've got Chris Bay, Suicide, Trey Miguel, Cousin Jake, Joey Ryan, and Rohit Raju. Oh, sorry. Suicide, Chris Bay, Trey Miguel, and Rohit Raju in a four-way. Cousin Jake versus Joey Ryan. Rosemary and not Jessica Havoc in a Full Metal Mayhem. And Michael Elgin saying he will be walking out as world champion no matter what. Tessa Blanchard's about to get murdered. And it's not by Twitter. And then in the unsanctioned match, Shamrock beat Callahan. they did the whole angle very much like the match that Shamrock refereed at WrestleMania 13. Ken put on the ankle lock, Sammy passed out, so the win was declared sort of by referee stoppage sort of thing. So Shamrock looked strong. The only issue is Sammy Callahan in his big return looks really weak. Because a guy that what they really did with the match is do everything that Shamrock could do, and everything that he couldn't, they hid, which makes sense. But
it's a good way to book Shamrock at this point, though. Honestly,
but overall, a strong show with the with 4 of the 5 matches being good to great to excellent. Then we move
so
on. Go ahead.
How was the empty arena affect Impact?
It was certainly an issue. It's certainly an issue, like it is with most of the shows at the minute. The only one that sort of really didn't was obviously Ace Austin and Willie Mack. There was so much stuff going on, you couldn't pay attention to the fact that there was nobody there.
That's good.
That was the one where a lot of people online saying, okay, there's that whole 60-minute or 57-minute match where they just did a stare down for half an hour, which some people were saying was epic and some people were saying was shit. But it's that sort of thing. You need those sort of matches. Sort of like I'd say it was better than Hager and Moxley. Because, like I said last week, with Hager, when he sort of did his stuff, it sort of felt like that's where the crowd needs to be. With Austin and Mac, they were just doing it even if it was for themselves, even if nobody was watching. I guess that's because of the background of Willie Mack probably being at shows with not too many people in the SoCal area. Or the NorCal area. And let's be honest, there probably weren't a lot of people in the Lucha Temple for Lucha Underground all those.
I doubt it.
All those years.
Not room for them.
So NXT was interesting from the off because they said there was a possible incident involving Balor inside the locker room. And they said, more information would be provided when available. It took them 2 days. It was only on Friday when William Regal suddenly went, Finn Balor was attacked backstage and went to a local medical facility, but seems to be okay. They didn't address anything about Finn Balor being attacked. All they kept saying was he was backstage and then he just disappeared. And I was like, oh my god, the Lucha people did it and they didn't even get any footage of it.
Exactly.
Who knows? Yeah, basically referees were inspecting the locker room where the incident took place. But they didn't announce it or reveal it or anything. So Dream starts cutting his promo on Balor, but Cole interrupts and saying, well, basically, it turns into sort of a era sort of beatdown, but Keith Lee came in for the save, which then got turned into the main event tag match, which we'll get to. Then we had Dakota and Raquel beating Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox, with Raquel pinning Shotzi to get the win for the team. A one-arm power bomb. I mean, it's nice and all, but with the fact that we're seeing too much of it in Raw and too much of it in SmackDown, at the minute NXT doesn't need big bitch.
True.
Seriously. It's like cookie cutter. It's like take out the one person. The only difference with this one, of course, she's not independent. She's acting, as the heavy work, if you will, for Dakota. Then they have the vignette from Maverick. Every match could be my last match. I'm not done yet, and I've still got a story to tell. This ain't a tournament anymore. This is my life. This situation, because we can't mention COVID-19 because it will get demonetized, except they're getting paid God knows how much money anyway. So...
ridiculous.
Just say it. He doesn't want people to feel sorry for him. Other people are going through far more. And it was like, you felt for him, but at the same time, this was such a good video package that I was like, he better fucking win. Then after the break, they had a video package for Jake Atlas, which was again good. Although they didn't want to mention, he's gay.
Not at all.
Just in case the Saudis are watching. Atlas pinned Maverick with a cartwheel DDT in a very good match.
Of course, they're not going to call it the LGB DDT either.
Yeah.
But he still gets to use it, so that's a good thing.
And then, very NWA Power-esque, Mackenzie Mitchell was interviewing Atlas basically at stage side.
Why?
I guess they wanted to do the interview there.
Okay.
Rather than at ringside. But I like what I like what it did, because like Jake was looking over to Drake, who was going up the ramp to the back, and he's like, Drake, man, I'm sorry. And Drake's just like shaking his head and walking off, and Atlas is like, I don't deserve this. I wanted him to, I want him to do good, but it's just, I want to do good too. People are about to know my story. It was very well good. Then Damian Priest got a good promo on Keith Lee, basically saying how Keith Lee's either picked his opponents or opponents were picked for him. It's never been thrust upon him, which is important. Then Kushida beat Tony Nese in the second cruiserweight match. Kushida managing to lock on the Sakuraba lock, which was a good match you'd expect with the two guys there, certainly. Then, of course, Mackenzie Mitchell interviewed Riddle and Thatcher. By the way, Thatcher put out his first and possibly only tweet a few days back, saying, I may never tweet again. But apparently
Undertaker will tweet.
I had to do this.
And Thatcher will tweet.
We've got two different philosophies. Riddle likes to knock people out. I like to lock them in a hold and make people submit. And Matt's just like, you're a beautiful man, Timothy, and every time I look at your blue eyes, you remind me of Stallion Pete. And Fat Chick just goes, but my eyes are brown, Matt. I know, bro. But next week we'll show just how beautiful a man you really are. And Tim's like, and this is in what manner? And Riddle's just like, trust me, bro. And it's just like, Bill and Ted is alive and well, and his name is Matthew Riddle.
Let's hope there's more to it than that.
Then there was a good Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux promo thing. And then followed up by Gargano and Candice in their house at the dinner table. You know, Candice being the model wife and whatever. And Gargano cuts a promo, you know. Gargano's cup sitting on the table. Candice slightly not blonde anymore, going a more natural sort of darker tone. Basically, both cutting promos on the brand of NXT. I do like I sort of understand this. The write up on F4W compares it to Owen Hart's "Enough Is Enough" gimmick.
Potentially.
Yeah, they were really good, and Gargano says they should be the first married couple to be NXT Men's and NXT Women's Champion. Then Maverick's on a stairwell, approached for comment, and he's like, I'm not just fighting my opponents, I'm fighting my own self. And it's at this point people are starting to get worried, because it's looking at this point as if Drake isn't actually fired. They just made it out like he was, just so it'd be a more interesting storyline.
You mean like the Joey Ryan Al Snow battle on Impact?
Well, if you remember, wasn't that? Oh no, that wasn't him, was it? It was, who was the other guy that Ric Flair just said I'm supposed to say no, but I'll say yes.
I remember his name off the top of my head, but I know that was a big problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but at the same time, I think they're just being too much of a work on that. So it's enough of a point where it's like they're exacerbating this so much, it just seems off.
It doesn't. If it's not, and it's not an angle, then it's ridiculous. I mean, you feel for Spud in every way possible, and then they'd be like, "Oh, he earned his job back," and I was like, "Well, what if I don't want him in the WWE anymore? Is actually they'll use him properly?" And they're like, "Nope, sorry, he's gonna be in the WWE." And okay, at least he makes money.
Is this the stroke that Braun Strowman's like? You want me as champion? Hire him back. Oh shit.
Essential Character 3 has a phone call for you on line 1, Ashley.
Comedy for one is still comedy.
Exactly.
Mia Yim beat Jessie Kamea with the Project Your Neck, or Protect Your Neck.
Protect your neck, yeah.
With then Charlotte coming out and basically offering her a title match.
Like her first opponent in NXT, I believe.
Yeah, you helped make me a star. So it's time for me to make You a star.
Pats her on the head and gives her a five gold piece, and then sends her on her merry way.
Ooh, a piece of candy. And then here comes El Hijo de Fantasma. With
What is
his
he doing
mask
with
on and
this?
everything, because... they had a good match. As you'd expect with Gallagher and Phantasma, in all honesty. Fireman's carrying to Michinoku Driver. I can't remember what Phantasma called that. Mainly because it was just in Mexican. In most of the coverage that I saw.
I called so many Phantasma matches on when he was in Impact. I don't recall what his finish was called. It's a
Um,
Samoan driver, is what it is.
Men cut a promo in Spanish afterwards. During the commercial break, masked men showed up in an
Of course they
SUV,
did.
tried to kidnap Phantasma, but Phantasma fought them off and they sped away. The key thing to note, of course that happened because he won. The other two lost. When you lose, you get kidnapped. When you win, then of course is Phantasma behind it all along.
That's what we keep hearing, but who knows if that's the case anymore or not.
Is Phantasma kidnapping the competition to try and make sure that he becomes, interim champion? Then again, of course, this was before the interim champion. This whole storyline started before the interim championship even existed. So, who knows?
They don't know anymore, obviously. It's
So
clear.
then, Undisputed Era versus Dream and Lee.
For how long?
A number of minutes. Also, it was interesting. Dream's attire was a OVA shirt, but Dream Over was written underneath. In the NWO style.
Yeah.
So it started with a sort of melee with Fish getting involved, so getting thrown out. But of course, while the referee's doing that, Damian Priest hops the barrier as if nobody could see him.
They were wrestling at the time.
Hits Lee in the throat twice with a nightstick, and sold it better than Elias did when he got hit in the throat. And the great thing is, Priest did it like, and then, as if it's like fucking Shao Kahn from like Mortal Kombat, or the Black Knight in that pinball game. Like a weird, menacing laugh, sort of like the Table of Japan laugh from Botchamania. It was just that sort of. As soon as he left, it was just like an evil, maniacal cackle. It's just like, okay.
Well, it's nice to see he got his nightstick back from Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Took him long enough.
Mm-hmm. Um. So this was
And
all going
then
on, and then, Dream was
I
looking
heard
in
about
trouble,
this.
and then from out of nowhere,
From the upside down comes.
here comes Dexter Loomis.
Why? Why is this a thing?
I mean, literally, that's what everybody was saying. The commentators were like, "Where did he come from? Why is he here? What issue has he got?"
And why was he allowed to compete in the match?
I guess the referee, in his discretion, because Keith Lee didn't wrestle, because I think
So,
Dream started, because Keith Lee wasn't actively tagged in. Loomis was allowed to be his second, I guess.
no, stop trying to put logic into this. If a random, okay, let's say we had a crowd. If a
Mm.
random mark jumped the barricade and grabbed the tag rope, would they be allowed to compete in the match? No. So why is Sam Shaw allowed to be in this match? And why are they trying to push him? This is bad.
I don't know whether they were trying to push him.
It's I'd say so.
I'm still trying to work out what happened with Balor.
You're not supposed to remember that. It happened earlier ago.
Yeah, but they brought it up throughout the thing because they were saying, Keith Lee was a replacement. Well, no. Keith Lee was sort of a partner for this in the match that should have been with Balor. So it's like,
Imperium paid somebody to take out Balor for them because they couldn't do it themselves.
or something.
Problem solved.
So, yeah, that's how that went off the air. Meanwhile,
Yes.
on the other channel,
Sucks.
the SmackDown hacker reveals himself to be Cody. I mean, that's what it
Hey, to be
was.
fair, to be fair, he was in Lucius Fox's control center from Batman.
Which looks exactly the same as. I know Mustafa Ali is a mark for Batman as well, so
It looks like the old control center for like it was definitely a DC reference without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. But at the same time, it's like, that's a lot like the hacker. Except we actually saw. We saw Cody's face.
Good way to kick off the show.
Then we had the Sammy and Darby Allin video packages, hyping up the match that came next. I don't think this was as good as Revolution.
No, but it was a very different way to take this match, and you were anticipating it to be.
Yeah.
The ladder splash before the bell even rang.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. And then the
Especially when
fact
the
that
ladder didn't
Darby.
break.
Oh, I don't think it was supposed to. I really don't think it was supposed to.
No, I think no, they just got a ladder and went, okay.
And then it was funny because it's like Darby gets tossed into the ring by Sammy, and then Aubrey goes, "Well, he's dead. Let's call for the bell. Let's start this match." Good back and forth. Darby ended up taking off the boot of Sammy Guevara and worked the boot, put an ankle lock on, and Sammy had to work the match basically with one shoe on, one boot, one shoe off, including a nasty springboard cutter he almost missed.
I'm waiting for you to get to the coffin drop.
So good. So let's see. And Darby got his nose busted, and they started throwing elbows and a nasty spinning back fist from Sammy. And then Darby kicks out. And next thing you know, they fought on the floor and they battled for a bit. And the coffin drop. I was not ready for that. I won't even
When are
lie.
you? I wasn't
But it's
even.
great.
I wasn't even ready for it when he did it like falling 50 foot at Travis Pastana's place.
Oh, that was great. And then it's like he was setting up for the finish, and then all of a sudden Darby just hooks him out of nowhere with the Last Supper and gets the pin. It was a great match.
That 630 looked rough as well, though, from Sammy.
Oh yeah, the special. You mean the way he landed?
Yeah, he was
Like he
like,
didn't get that full rotation on the
he got
630,
he got about 622, which was just about all right.
and he kind of went to the side a little bit too. Yep, definitely a solid way. And it's funny that they both drew blood on each other, so that was nice.
And then
Oh, good lord.
Matt
So
Hardy's
Darby
here.
Allen is, but first Darby Allen is going to move on, and
Yeah.
he's going to be facing Cody in the
Mm-hmm.
semifinals, which I cannot wait for Wednesday night. Yeah, broken Matt at the compound.
Yeah.
Hasn't hasn't heard anything from Jericho since he proposed the Elite deletion.
So maybe Sammy wants to accept it instead.
Yep.
Maybe I am too intense. Maybe Jericho needs to hear from Matt's mortal vessel. And then here's actual Matt Hardy.
Yeah, Matt Hardy
I'm
just pops
saying
into frame.
how he's known Chris for 20 years. He's got the elites back and won't let Jericho use AEW as a platform. And then was the last bit from Woken Matt or regular Matt?
It was basically regular Matt. He says, I'm going to kick every ass.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to feeling we're going to see week after week of different members of the Inner Circle showing up at the Hardy compound and getting disposed of. Do we get Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing?
I think that's what the build is to. I would have thought.
That's the vibe I'm getting too.
Next up, Alan Angels.
Well, first off, beforehand, just like I mentioned last week, we have the Tazistrator without the Tazistrator once again. Taz talking about how the V trigger and the Snapdragon suplex work. I love this. It's more of that Forts feel that AEW was talking about offering, but when it was getting ready before it started. And
The
this is
thing
coming from
is, are
me.
most of the people watching want to see the sport stuff, or do they just want to see the wrestling? There's the
Depends on what
issue.
the ratings say. Yeah. Alan Angels against Kenny Omega broke the internet.
I'm trying to remember how.
This was good. A solid elongated squash, which Angels got a lot on Kenny. Kenny let him have a bit, and then just annihilated him. But he did get the kick out of the V trigger. And then he hits the V trigger, and then he's like, "Nope, I'm gonna finish you for good
Yeah.
now." And then he hits it again, and he wins.
I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to hit the one-winged angel until absolutely necessary.
Exactly. I don't mind this because, like, I understand why it happened. Like, I remember watching. God, I remember this. It was like, obviously, Brian Pillman is no slouch, and he was WCW light heavyweight champion at the time. But I went to a house show in Charleston that featured a main event of Brian Pillman versus the total package Lex Luger when he was WCW world champion.
Mm-hmm.
And Luger gave Pillman a lot in that match. But of course, Pillman had to fall victim to the pile driver at the end. So it was kind of reminded me of that. It was like it wasn't a squash. And Alan Angels did not get squashed at all by Kenny Omega. He gave him a lot and let him just show what he could do. And I like that. That's why I like about AEW, because it's giving other people a chance to shine. And then, like my boy Chico, which hopefully got another match against Jake Hager. But I mean, still, when something happens, they get national exposure in that match. And then if a promoter sees that, then there you go. I mean, you get a couple bookings off of it. That's everybody wins. Great,
Then we had.
great video package on Scorpio Sky.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a good little bit.
Kind of reminds me of when they were pushing Scorpio Sky when he had the one-off match against Chris Jericho. I I think it's pretty much guaranteed at this point that SCU are going to be a part of the next set of tapings in a couple weeks. I'm trying to think, other than the people like obviously like Death Triangle and some of the Japanese contingent. I don't think there's many unless like someone like a Jake that you're not going to make the tapings because of the circumstances. But I don't think there's going to be many superstars that are not going to miss these next set of tapings. I think we're going to get back to not necessarily a full roster, but I say at least over half of the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I see the California contingent coming back. I see the New York contingent coming back. The New Jersey contingent coming back. Like, it's clear that everybody's quarantining right now for a reason. So we'll talk about somebody quarantining in a minute because it made me laugh hysterically. But we'll get to that in a bit.
Okay, they had the Road to stuff, but we sort of covered that already. I just want to get to Jimmy Havoc, Orange Cassidy.
Well, they hyped BTE and then they put over actually BTE.
Yeah, we already talked about
Referenced it. No, I'm just saying it's one of the first times they've actually referenced it.
Yeah,
on television.
True, but
this match apparently had one of the highest ratings for the entire show.
That's the power of Orange. And maybe
Orange
Havoc.
Cassidy
Maybe Havoc.
God, Orange Cassidy's a national treasure. Jericho and Tony Schiavone on commentary, I swear to you, it's like Brian brought it up earlier this week. It's like they're making these references that are going to go over the head of 90% of the people, but that 10%, and I have a feeling both of us are in that 10% that get those references. My God, the commentary is glorious.
Cassidy winning with a crucifix pin.
It was good. Solid match.
And then Havoc just hits him with a DDT, and the best friends come in to make the save. I'm trying to remember. It's a tag match, isn't it? I can't remember who though.
So I made if we would have been doing a live show, I would have said, okay, they're building the best friends versus Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. I get that. But they can't announce that until Sabian loses tonight. And sure enough, as we're getting ahead of ourselves, once Dustin gets the pin, right before it goes off the air, they say, next week on AEW Dynamite, the best friends versus Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc.
Who is it, though?
No disqualification. So I know we want to get to it later, but the interview that they have, like the promo with the best friends, and we'll talk about that in a second. But one of those things is basically Penelope cannot be in the match because obviously. So because of that, it's going to be Trent and Chucky T against Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc,
so no
with
Orange Cassidy
Orange and Penelope in the corners. But I
I
guarantee you there's going to be spots.
Oh, yeah. But
because it's no DQ and it's anything goes. Kind of like that parking lot battle they were going to have in Jacksonville that never happened.
Yeah. So, MJF.
Max's Rat's house. I laughed my ass off.
I'm trying to relate as to whether that's in relation to Ring Rat or that's that. For a minute I thought that was the house that his pet rat lived in, and considering that
it was definitely his Ring Rat. And when I saw that Chiron come up on the screen, I was like, there's about 15% of the audience that are getting this right now, but the people that are getting it are laughing hysterically right now.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether it was like implying that his pet rat, has got a house that big, so imagine what his is like. Or the one I was mainly thinking of was like, that's the house he gives to his ring rat? What? But it got better because he's like, I suffered a hangnail while I was gambling at the last show that I was at.
He was gambling too hard.
It's become life-threatening and may require surgery. And MJF's in a sling. It's just... Yes.
Which, of course, the funny thing about that is that's also Matt playing on the internet and how the internet have heard about his elbow being messed up. And the fact that he was wearing an arm sling after he made a comment on Twitter that turned out to be what it was, that was him messing with the fans a little bit.
I think he put a tweet up today saying, I'm getting better for you guys. Like, as if he's trying to be a face. It's like, I love it.
I don't know if it's time yet or not. I mean, Double or Nothing could be the rematch with Jericho potentially, but I think we're leading to Jericho and Matt Hardy. I really think it's John Moxley and MJF at Double or Nothing.
Um, I'm trying to think if there's anybody. I mean, we've got like a month to build it, so maybe.
I think that's the right move. I mean, the other thing, obviously, you have you can do the same thing you did before. You have Moxley and Wardlow, but the problem with that is you don't want Wardlow to lose again.
The only what I'm wondering is, I know it'd be like burying him too quickly, but
Mm.
I'm wondering whether it could be Brody Lee.
Brody Lee's a potential. Brody Lee, and MJF are both
Because
potential challengers.
I think if I think AEW realizes they probably need a crowd to have MJF become champion on Moxley, so they need to save it for what
I,
All Out 2 or whatever.
if it were, I mean, obviously, I'd like to see a rematch with Janela. That'd be a good Double or Nothing main event.
I'm looking for the heel, you see.
You got to build him up though. You got to
Mm.
build him back up. You got to turn him heel on the tapings. Then you got to start building him up to win to get credible wins over opponents. And then you have to have him win a four corners match to get that shot at Moxley.
So Lee Johnson managed to hit Wardlow with a dropkick. Wardlow
That's pretty much all
replied
he
with
did.
suplex F10.
God, that F10. Oh my lord. Lee Johnson is still spinning somewhere.
Then a Dark Order hopeful has his girlfriend Samantha break up with him on voicemail. Got
Preston
injured.
Van.
Got injured in a college football game and went to the Dark Order website. Went to
Yep.
meet Mr. Brody.
He had the
And
whole world in his hands, is what he typed on the
yeah,
page.
how tall are you? 6'2". How much do you
That was
weigh? 240. Have you
perfect.
played college? Have you played college football? Yes. You're hired.
That's so good. Gives him a mask and said he's 10. Well, the funny thing is,
The problem is at this point, Dark Order is just becoming Billionaire Ted 2.0, and I don't like it.
I like it because I know I like the haha stuff. It's great, but I think once we get back to basics, once everybody's able to be there, I think because I don't, we can't get Grayson and Nuno to show up for these next tapings, can we?
I just don't like the fact that we're as if we're trying to acknowledge that Vince McMahon is a good or a bad thing. He doesn't
I
need to
think
be
Brody's just having
anything.
fun.
He doesn't need to be anything.
I just think Brody's having fun, being able to be himself
Yeah,
and
but
jab the knife a little deeper every once in a while.
the if you look at his character, I don't like it. Look at his in-ring stuff with Justin Law, with just suplexes and throws, like ragdolling him and the discus lariat to finish.
Mm.
That was good. And then it got even better because
Him and Marco.
Marco decided to taunt him. So that's happening. I think next week, is it?
Marco against Brody is next week.
Yeah.
Yes, I cannot wait for this match.
Along with the semi-finals as well.
It
So
sucks. It sucks because we don't have Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus here because once Marco gets wiped out on Wednesday, that'd be a great time for Luchasaurus to make the save. I want to see that match in these next set of tapings.
and then
Dark Order versus Jurassic Express, 6-man tag.
a sensible addition of Bubbly Bunch.
Oh, hold on. I want to mention this because I was talking about
Oh yeah, the
the
best friends promo.
best friends. I just love this. It's like Trent goes, "Do I want to fight Penelope Ford? Yes. Can I? No." I was like, "Oh God."
No, but it was like The whole thing was like they were all down, so it's like just do the dances on that flim flam thing.
Oh my God. Flim Flam is their version of TikTok, and Jericho has applied for that trademark. So that probably will be something that's a thing moving
Except,
forward because they were asking about it on Twitter.
except maybe stealing an idea from Louisiana with the toilet roll and a pole match. Whoever did the best dancing was promised hand sanitizer, so they suddenly got into it. So,
They got really into it too.
and then Dustin and Sabian.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, solid match. And Ashley, it's 2020 and the Canadian Destroyer won a match.
And Brandy did a good spear.
Yes, she did. That rebound spear she hit? Absolutely.
When they showed the replays, did they actually show it as if it was like a fucking Mortal Kombat bit? We're just like, spear, spear, different angle, spear, different angle. I can't remember.
I like that.
It was like one of
I
the
did.
replays from, well, maybe not Mortal Kombat. I'm trying to think, like, one of the bits. It's the sort of like the final bit from like Tekken or Soul Calibur or something where you see the final strike. But at the same time, it was, I'm trying to think of like the video game where it's like you see it 3 different times, sort of thing. I know it's like
You're legit
punches and whatever.
the wrong person.
I know. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
So next week, a Wednesday night, like what we talked about previously, the semifinals, Cody and Darby Allin face versus face. We cannot wait. And Lance Archer will
Murder.
destroy Cody
Yeah.
Rhodes. Opportunity to potentially stop Dustin from getting killed in this match. So yeah, basically Cody is going to watch his brother get sacrificed to build to his match against Lance Archer at Double or Nothing.
Or they do the ultimate
What if,
swerve.
what about a Broadway?
Lance Archer wins. We know that much.
Then Broadway.
But either, Cody just gets caught off guard and Darby gets the win. And
we talked about that as a possibility.
Double or Nothing, Cody interferes.
Yep.
Allowing Darby to get the win.
Or we have
letting the Jake promos and whatever to build further than May.
Yep.
Because when else would be the best time to take down Caesar than maybe not the Ides of March, but where it all started? The anniversary of All In / All Out.
That makes sense.
Around that time.
I'm okay with Darby Allin being the first TNT champion. We basically talked a couple of weeks ago. Correct. If you want to see choice, go Broadway, go to a draw, and either A, they're both eliminated, or B, we have a 3-way at Double or Nothing. That's an option as well. Which means you don't have to, if anybody other than Archer wins, he doesn't have to be pinned in order to lose. So he still doesn't get pinned if he's going to lose. So he doesn't have that blemish on his record of getting pinned. Which is a possibility as well. But yeah, Cody and Lance Archer seems to be smart money. Darby and Cody is going to be great. There's many directions you can go. You can have Darby get a win out of nowhere. We have now shown that Darby has that flash roll up now that he can win with. And he could surprise Cody out of nowhere. We could get a surprise roll up from Dustin and then The same thing I said with Cabana last week, which didn't happen. We can do Cody versus Dustin for the TNT Championship. But I don't see that happening. It's a direction to go, but I don't see that being the direction to go with.
It shouldn't be for me. It shouldn't be Cody and the one thing I did like, which we might as well mention here, even though it's sort of news based.
If that was in front of a crowd, that would be the finals I might go with.
Cody's applied to trademark Cody Rhodes.
I know he has.
Because WWE let it slip.
He'll be Cody Rhodes again very soon.
And a lot of people have said maybe the angle if Jericho became champion again was, you said Cody could never become champion.
That's possible.
You never specified in the contract that Cody Rhodes couldn't become champion.
That's a lot of what ifs, but I could see that being a potential thing.
If they wanted to.
Oh, yeah, totally. There's a lot of ways to go if they wanted to. So, like, Darby could win, Cody could win, Lance Archer could win. Honestly, any of the four could win at this point. I don't see any possible way that I would not be happy with the finals of Double or Nothing being any of those four in a singles match. Or if they pulled the trigger on a three-way. But yeah, I don't have a problem with anybody that got to the finals. Other than the fact that a lot of people that I would have personally put in the TNT Championship tournament, they didn't work the taping, so they couldn't have been a part of it.
So, SmackDown. New Day make their way out. And it's like, let's cheer for Big E. And Big E's like, there's nobody here, Kofi. Noting how they have more titles now than Heart Foundation, the Bulldogs, and Demolition. And then Lucha House Party interrupted, saying everybody else has had tag title opportunities. Why haven't we? Miz and Morrison then interrupt and says, to be fair, we haven't lost our tag titles in a tag match. And New Day have never beaten Miz and Morrison in a traditional one-on-one tag match either. Lucha House Party then sort of got in, and Gran Metalik screamed at Miz in Spanish, and Miz is like, I have no clue what you said. John, you've wrestled in Mexico, what did he say? And Morrison's like, oh, he was praising you, man. And New Day are like, I don't think so. And then here come the Forgotten.
Why is this a thing? Seriously.
Since they came home from defending their country, I completely forgot that the gimmick is they're supposed to be veterans.
Oh, the Veterans of War on line one.
It's fucking Crimson. Jackson Riker said Miz is a poser and only played a Marine in the movies. I mean, so did Ted DiBiase Jr. and everyone was like, he's not a Marine, yet alone in the movies. He's not a Marine at all. And Forgotten Sons were made to look strong, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Send them back to NXT. Or, fire them and replace them with Sarah Logan. And the world is a better place. They note how Elias's injuries have now hampered his music career, and how he can't perform or sing for the time being.
Oh, they're going to change his gimmick, aren't they?
I don't know. Either way, then Corbin beat Gulak.
That's all I need.
Mainly thanks to Cesaro and Nakamura from out of nowhere attacking Daniel Bryan who was on the floor. And then Corbin was hit Gulak with the scepter after Cesaro and Nakamura basically held him up, sort of thing. Then they acknowledged Gronk going back to the NFL but still being 24/7 champ, so
Good riddance.
that backfired.
Mojo, your days are numbered,
Then
buddy.
Sheamus beat Daniel Vidot. Sheamus was demanding respect throughout the entire thing. Obviously won with a bro kick in no time. Then afterwards they covered the Jeff Hardy's situation, highlighting the Hardys winning the tag belts back at 33. Then discussing Jeff Hardy and all that and saying, oh, he'll be in the Hall of Fame someday, and doesn't understand the attitude that Sheamus had. And Sheamus was just standing behind Cole the whole time and knocked his headset off. It's like, we've got another chapter coming up, but we'll get to that in a bit. So, Miz and Morrison versus Lucha House Party. Miz tried the skull crushing finale on Grand Metalik, but Metallic rolled through, and Lucha House Party won. That's interesting. Also interesting was what came next. Sasha Banks and Lacey Evans in a Money in the Bank qualifier. Okay. Sasha with a hat fan with Lacey's daughter's picture on it that she did and whatever. They did some good stuff. The nice stuff was towards the end. Lacey went after Bayley, and when Sasha rolled up Lacey, Bayley was just sort of trying to get in the ring and not be happy. So Sasha gets up and is furious with Bayley and saying, stay out of it. Turns around straight into the woman's right. Lacey Evans qualifies. And then Bayley's punishment is she gets super kicked by Tamina. Because Tamina is Shawn Michaels.
This sounds horrible.
Lacey and Sasha had a good match. And I don't know whether I like the way that they're doing the whole, they're not building it right with the whole Bayley's trying to, keep up with the friendship stuff, but everything she's doing is just making Sasha just... My problem is whether people will then just... They need to make Bayley the heel.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, are people just... Is Sasha Banks the new Big Show? Well, no, because that's flipping between stuff. I guess it's to the point where every time Sasha is involved in something, is she going to have to be the heel?
I hope not.
I want Bayley to be the heel, but I'm just wondering whether the public's opinion is just going to be, boo, Sasha gets another thing even though she wasn't even interested in coming back. I don't want that to happen because that'll make her walk away from wrestling. Then again, it might make her walk into Stardom and other international promotions, so that's better. They then do a whole video package hyping up the history of the Wyatt family and all that. Then Carmella and Dana are backstage, and Carmella says, she was inspired by what Dana did last week, but tonight, it's all about women winning them tag titles.
The belts don't matter at all.
The tag titles was okay. The best bit was the finish, because basically, the new finish for Bliss Cross Applesauce is a
Modified
3D,
3D.
a free DDT. I don't know what you want to call it. A free DDT. And that was the main event, because the rest of the last 20 minutes was the Triple H celebration.
Mm.
Triple
I
H
heard
is.
this went off the rails.
I think it was supposed to, but at the same time, it's like it's gonna be very sort of. Some people aren't gonna like it, and some people are. Some of the bits were pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of the bits were like that didn't work. The first bit, Triple H is getting the water bottle ready to do his entrance, and then a guy with a mask, one of the stagehands with a mask walks past and goes, "You can't do that, man." Shawn Michaels shows up, and Shawn says he's got 2 words for him, and Triple H was, basically gonna hug him and whatever with it, and Shawn's like, "No, social distancing. Those are the 2 words right now." And Michaels sent out invitations to all his friends and family, and they're all here to celebrate with him. And it's like, there's nobody here. The only people here are Corey and Michael. And Shawn's like, I don't think I invited them. They're here because they have to be. And then it's like, what a great 25th anniversary celebration it was. And Shawn is like, what was your best moment from my 25th anniversary celebration? And Triple H is like, I can't remember, man. And Shawn's like, yeah, because I didn't have one. And then they had some DX bloopers, some of which I hadn't seen before, at least from what I remember. Like the firing the first shot outside WCW when it didn't actually fire.
Yeah.
Then they talked about Triple H's WrestleMania moment and how Triple H is the real Mr. WrestleMania. But it then notes how he's basically lost 14 times, is it? If you include, obviously, Ronda, making Stephanie submit as well, technically. Then Shawn says everything changed, There was one hiccup when you met Stephanie, and she's Stephanie no fun. And it's like, no. She calls up on Triple H, and it's like, why is he bad-mouthing me? And Triple H's like, no, he isn't. And she's like, yeah, I'm watching right now on the TV, he's bad-mouthing me. So he just hung up on her. Then Rick called up. And praised both of them and said, make sure, make sure Shawn doesn't super kick you at the end of a segment. That's all I've got to say, Triple H. Can't say any more. And then like Triple H saying Flair couldn't control it, and then Flair called again, and then he suddenly started crying and whatever. And they abruptly cut to a commercial. It's like, what? Then when we're back from break, Road Dogg's already on the phone and whatever, and Triple H just hung up on him and saying how they haven't got a lot of time. And Triple H said, I talked to Fox, we can go as long as we want. And Shawn said, well, that's good because I didn't even get to Katie Vick. And then Vince showed up, stayed on the ramp, referred to Triple H as Paul and his son-in-law, and said that Triple H was boring and compared his performance to the gobbledygooker. And brought up the whole Katie Vick angle and doesn't know why Triple H would be naked in a funeral parlor with a mannequin and actually doing it. And then acknowledging, the Bayley This Is Your Life segment being terrible, but adding that it wasn't Bayley's fault that it was terrible. Which, of course, Bayley is rightfully going, see? It's the fucking writers. But yeah, Vince said Triple H was terrible and this is a terrible way to go, I love you, but I'm kicking you out of the building. Padre. He did his strut off the stage, and with them still in the ring, they turn all the lights off and playing cricket sounds. And that's how we end SmackDown in a... I thought David Lynch was weird. He's no longer weird anymore. For the love of fuck.
That sounds really bad.
It's weird. Some of the sort of jokes work because of how weird it is. But at the same time, it's like... So with MLW, apparently there's a super series going on between them and AAA, because some of this was recorded in Mexico and whatever. Richard Harday beat Chessman to retain, quote-unquote, his Caribbean heavyweight title. Then we had a promo with Lance Warner and Alicia 2. Mance!
Don't forget about old Manser.
So it looks as if it's building towards him and Hammerstone for the openweight title.
That makes sense.
Douglas James, we had a medical report on after he was knocked out by an Averno forearm. The basic thing is he's barred from contact for 180 days unless cleared by a neurologist. So anyway, the concussion angle. Then LA Park is cooking eggs. Well, a few weeks ago he was cooking eggs and sausage in the kitchen. Now he's in bed with Mrs. LA Park in pillow talk. Mrs. Park was complaining that she was already asleep and wanted a kiss and for just to say goodnight. And all she got was a load of farting before cutting away to technical difficulties. Bloody hell.
Garbage. Sorry, Court. Garbage.
Pagano and Jacob Fatu seems to be building to something. Then Hammerstone doing his promo to Mansa. Colonel Robert Parker. Allegations of him promoting unsanctioned wrestling contests on barges and the events being shut down by the Coast Guard, with Parker denying involvement with the outlaw barge shows. I don't know whether that's a dig at Dana for Fight Island. Probably.
It might be.
The Von Erichs will see Team Filthy on the flip side before cliff diving into a pool in Hawaii. Then some low-key moments and all that. And then Heart Foundation beats Tejano Jr. and Rhea Scorpion. But in a good match. So MLW are now 4-2 up in the series. But as AJ and Rich was signing off from commentary, Contra interrupted with the propaganda and said that they were watching and they're coming. So we know next week, Jordan Oliver, Cotto Brazil, and Myron Reed are taking on Mr. C's Octagon Jr. and El Hijo de Vikingo, the World Trios champions at the minute in AAA, which should be good. Also, we've got LA Park's cooking segment returning, or something. And then the Lost Parks will take on Psycho Clown and 2 mystery partners in a couple of weeks. So we'll see. Main events got interesting because Tom Phillips is on commentary.
Okay.
And MVP. And given that MVP, has wrestled for quite a bit, he was a very good color commentator.
Not surprised.
Asuka beat Catalina. The former Catalina Garcia. It was a little bit too long, in the sense that Asuka was obviously going over. And then Humberto and Shelton Benjamin put on a very good match, even though they were only given 7 minutes. Which means Humberto is 3-0 on Shelton. So I'm pretty sure he re-signed and he keeps losing. Great job. Now, in terms of various bits of news to quickly go over, yeah, we're running over, but we're not going 3 hours. The big surprise, as part of free agency, Rick Steiner's son is going to the Baltimore Ravens, apparently.
I saw that.
Pretty extreme. Cosmos, real name Rafael de la Torre, or Torre, who is 52 and wrestled for a long time in the SoCal area, or Southern California. I think you have to call it that now. SoCal is something completely different. He is the second confirmed fatality of COVID-19. What the hell? Bloody bug in my eye. So, apparently in terms of WWE pay, talent when they sign can choose to be paid either bi-weekly based on their downside guarantee, or bi-weekly based on what they would normally draw between live event pay and merch and other royalties. And if that figure at the end of 1 year is lower than the downside, they get the difference made up in a check at the end of the year. So sort of, that's how it works and all that stuff. Just trying to see. A new Untold episode is coming to the network next week, focusing on Triple H versus Mick Foley from 20 years ago. The Royal Rumble and No Way Out.
Mm-hmm.
Those pretty awesome matches. Dana White has confirmed that Fight Island will become a thing at some point down the line. Also, Jacksonville, Florida's ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena will be having apparently 3 UFC shows in the space of 7 days.
Yep.
UFC 249 will be happening on May 9th. There will then be an event also on Wednesday, May the 13th. So AEW and NXT could be really fucked that night. And then the following Saturday, May 16th, as well. The word is that the May 13th Wednesday show will be headlined by Glover Teixeira versus Anthony Smith, the light heavyweight title contenders, and then Walt Harris and Overeem will headline the Saturday, May 16th stuff. They've also confirmed the 249 card. On the prelims, Donald Cerrone, the Cowboy, is taking on Anthony Pettis. Fabricio Verdum against Olenek. Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson. Uriah Hall versus Jacare Souza. There's a few others as well, but those prelims are really surprisingly stacked. They're really trying to deliver. I guess because they haven't had so many fights, you can just whittle them out and just put them as like one big supercard. And if they're willing to give away matches with Verdum and Cerrone and Pettis and Hall and people of that like on the prelims, the pay-per-view card isn't, it's got a strong sort of double main event, I would say. We've got Greg Hardy, Jorgen De Castro, Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Kattar, Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and then Henry Cejudo defending the Bantamweight Championship, I think, against Dominic Cruz. And then for the interim lightweight title, Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. And that'll be a week on Saturday. So I guess we'll round that up in a couple of weeks once it's done. Otis versus Ziggler and Mandy versus Carmella is confirmed for SmackDown next week, as we build further to the Bank of the Monies. AEW will be returning to Florida in May for live and tape Dynamite shows.
Yep.
The idea is that, very similar to WWE, they will be doing live shows, but they'll also be taping shows like earlier that day or the following day.
They'll be quarantined and basically sequestered in a hotel for 9 days.
Yeah, that sort of deal. The big thing from the earnings call, the big thing that was really shitty, is, of course, they were saying how great it was. It's like brilliant. The big thing, though, that did come out, confirmed by Frank A. Riddick III, the interim chief financial officer, there is going to be no 2K21.
Yep.
Which means it'll be the first time since... The article here says 97, but I don't know whether you'd count Warzone and Attitude as simulator games. I'd say it probably started with SmackDown 1, which was, I think,
the original
99.
SmackDown game on PS1.
I think that was 99. Let me see if I can get the release date. I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah, that was THQ. Oh, wow, it was actually 2000. March or April, depending when it was. Wow. SmackDown 2 came out the same year. I thought that was like different. So then we're talking basically it'll be the first proper not simulator game from WWE since 2000 then. So 20 years basically. As I say, I don't know whether you can count at least on PlayStation Attitude and Warzone as being like as big of the options and choices that you had in there. I
Well,
guess
they're also
technically you could count No Mercy on the 64.
they're
That
making an announcement tomorrow about the new game.
Yes, I was
Regarding
going to get to that. I think this sort of because all of a sudden from out of nowhere, WWE 2K's Twitter suddenly went, "We will be sharing details on the future of the 2K franchise, as well as some exciting news on Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific." Basically, the word is the franchise is just on hold for a year. They're giving Visual Concepts the chance to actually develop an engine that they know they can handle and then use that for 2K22 or whatever they decide to call it. I'm guessing they will. They won't call it 2K21. But the idea being, of course, that'll be mainly focused on being solely for next gen, for PS5 and Xbox Series X.
makes sense.
So rather than dealing with the issue that it's always had when you had the cross-gen stuff from PS2 to PS3 with like 08 and 09, maybe 07? No, I think it was 08 and 09 on PS3. And then similarly with 2K14 and 15 being on PS3 as well as PS4. Because of course Justin Leeper, who formerly worked on the SmackDown vs. Raw stuff and has also been in the video game area, there is another game, but it's not developed by Visual Concepts. It's somebody else that's doing it on behalf of 2K, so maybe that's the whole exciting news thing. Hopefully.
It's very possible.
DDT castled Wrestle Peter Pan, mainly because all events in Japan have been put on hold at the minute because of the virus over there. The really good bit was Kenny apologising for not being able to go, where I think it was his cat was randomly invading and just being a dick and stuff. It's like, just seeing if there's any other little bits. Oh, Bellator also postponed their show for June, and wanting to come back some point in the summer, and they're trying to get a studio lot in Hollywood that they can, lock down, as being a closed set and whatever.
Yeah, they're building they're using a soundstage, or they're building a soundstage.
Yeah. Good old Vince getting in more trouble. The former commissioner is suing Vince. Oliver Luck filed a lawsuit against Vince last week for unspecified damages due to breach of contract. The 6-page suit was heavily redacted, but the line that they surmised was, Mr. Luck wholly disputes and rejects the allegations set forth in the termination letter and contends they are pretextual and devoid of merit, which suggests that basically Luck was fired for cause. The Athletic, which apparently also has been in touch with a lawyer, said the suit that McMahon's Alpha Entertainment filed to have the bankruptcy court reject certain executive contracts, which probably refers to Luck, would be due none of their contracted salary, even though Luck was reportedly due $20 million over the life of his contract. So I think the idea from what I can tell from the interpretations, is they fired him, basically saying, well, the league shut down, so we don't need you. And he's trying to say the implication is basically he did a bad job, and that's why he was terminated, rather than furloughed and then sort of terminated in such a way. So not great for him. Also, not great for the Revival, because they decided to call themselves the Revolt, and everyone went, but they're in PWX. They've been around for a while.
But like Dave said, they didn't copyright it, so they're all.
That's the sad thing.
Yeah, if they would have copyrighted it, there wouldn't have been a thing. Now they didn't, so.
Same with Defiant Wrestling.
There's money to be made if they do the Revolt versus Revolt battle. And I'm sure they'll do it eventually.
Then we have to bring up John.
I'd love to know who John is.
Yeah, who is
Honestly,
John?
I really
would. John, who may be male or female, who knows?
Yeah.
John said that. Well, not quote. John said that his employer, World Wrestling Entertainment (WWE), quote, is forcing me to work the TV tapings for its weekly shows, despite stay-at-home orders for coronavirus. I'm unable to speak out as I need this job, and I know I'll be fired if I approach my higher-ups. Despite sanitary precautions, we cannot maintain social distancing and are having to touch other people. I request the government to shut down these tapings and enforce the stay-at-home order so my colleagues and I can follow social distancing rules without fear of repercussions of losing our jobs. Of course, the issue is we don't know who this is. And we don't even know whether they're actually an employee at WWE or whether this is somebody that's trying to sort of be a spanner in the works for Vince. In a statement that was sent to the Observer, WWE said, quote, "The accusations are not true. Employees know they can confidently go to HR, not the public. Notwithstanding the appropriate protocol, no one would be fired if they were uncomfortable with their surroundings. We've made accommodations for individuals upon request." Like not mentioning Roman Reigns ever again.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I can't wait until Bray starts mentioning it once he's beaten Braun, and then it's like, what are you going to do? Fire me? I'm a champion. If you fire me, you know where I'm going. Because Matt basically said I was a good guy. I was like, huh.
I don't think they would say no at this point. And I'll say right now, when it comes down to it, I think there were more and more likely that Braun is going to be a transitional champion. And thank God for that.
Dark Side of the Ring ratings were up, ironically, for Dino Bravo.
Yeah, because it was something that a lot of people didn't really know much about.
Yeah.
Just like this week. This week's a big one that a lot of people don't know much about.
Also, at the same time, Dark Side of the Ring After Dark wasn't on afterwards. They fixed it. The deal is now a edited down 30-minute version, I think, will air at 9. And then the After Dark will be at 9:30. I can't remember who's in the one for Dino Bravo off the top of my head.
It's Jacques Rougeau. I think it's Jacques Rougeau, Jimmy Hart, and remember his name. It might be. It's either Patrick Laprade or Gino Brito.
Maybe Gino, because Pat was on for the. Pat was on that. Wasn't it Pat that was on the debacle of the Jimmy Snuka one, or was that somebody else?
That was definitely someone else.
I can't remember. The guy that they had on and they barely talked to him, it was just like, Let's have some fun stories from Greg the Hammer Valentine. Like,
Oh dear
it's not the
God.
time. It's not the time.
Greg Valentine and fun do not exist.
I did notice that Dwayne spoke positively about the Dr. Dave stuff.
Yeah, he said it's the one that everyone's going to need to watch. He's also got a new backyard wrestling show starting soon.
We'll see. Trying to think, we've got two more after this, haven't we? We've got the Road Warriors one, and then
Herb Abrams.
oh yeah, it's Herb, then Road Warriors, then Owen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Herb
sure.
Abrams is one because of Brian Zane. Forward to.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to know more. You know,
I wonder if they got Foley for that one.
be interesting to see who they do have for the
Because there's
interviews.
not many people with you.
I
There's not
think,
many main star UWF that are still alive.
or I vaguely remember Dutch Mantel. I think is going to be part of the Doctor D After Dark stuff. So expect him to be part of the documentary as well.
Yeah, it's probably Dutch, Foley, and I don't know who the third would be for UWF. Maybe they found Sunny Beach
Well,
or something.
no, I'm saying Dutch is for the After Dark on Schultz and the Slap.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm thinking he might be a part of the Herb Abrams one. I
We'll
think
see.
Cornette's part of Dr. D as well. Yeah, he is. Cornette is definitely a part of David Schultz.
Yeah, but I don't think he's part of the After Dark thing.
After Dark? I don't think so. No, I don't remember seeing his name listed.
Um, is it listed? I'm trying to search just to see whether it's in that one. Yeah, I think it's in the notes here. Yeah, Vice will be returning After Dark. It's Tuesday at 9:30, covering Dino Bravo. The episodes which were off the schedule are now on a 1 week delay. The panel discussion will have Jimmy Hart, Jack Rougeau, and fucking Tugboat himself, Fred Ottman.
Oh yeah, and I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then the David Schultz one, according to P. Windsor, will
Okay.
be Brian Blah, you ain't no
That
good
makes sense.
motherfucker. Dutch and Ricky Morton.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
We don't know who else though. And then the I don't know what the fuck story of the week.
The last thing we're talking about too. That's the best part.
The dream does not want you to remember this. Maybe. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
No one does.
Problem is, it comes from Reddit, so it's like, okay, this could be anybody with a vendetta. Um, they're alleging that Dream was talking to them and sending illicit photos,
Yep.
which, from Velveteen's statement, seem to be real photos. So I'm wondering whether he's another one that's had an iCloud hack. The remnant
Apparently, there's audio too.
the remnants of the fappening. I haven't heard the audio myself, but heard. I've seen like people on Twitter. Some of them are like, that sounds nothing like him, and some of them are
Uh-huh.
saying it is. I don't want to hear it because it's like WWE will investigate it if they have to.
Yeah, Dave wasn't really quick to talk about it at all this week.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
I think it's somebody that's, because it's only this person on Reddit that says, "Oh, I'm 17 and my friends are 16 and 15, and they've all been in contact with him with stuff like this."
Yeah, but that's a weird person to go after, do that to like defamation.
Yeah.
That's not who I would go after if it was somebody that like that. It goes after somebody a little bit more high profile. So that makes me think that there might be a little bit more truth to this than, but we don't know.
My Also, why would you go over somebody like that like their character is over?
Yeah.
I get the well, I don't well, it's not that I can condone it and whatever, but the Lars Sullivan thing
Oh
was
boy.
just
Yeah.
the Dylan Miley or whatever you want to call it issue
Yeah.
was a thing that nobody picked up on, because I'm pretty sure that video on the hub of porn that may or
Mm-hmm.
may not be Pornhub um was like around for years and nobody noticed until that fateful day. What must have been around this time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like what happened with Chastity and WC
Search Lars Sullivan. I'm trying to remember
when they
when it
found out him and
exactly
Chastity had
was.
done some videos as well.
um oh no, god, it feels so long ago. The revelation was December the 28th, so right after Christmas.
Yeah.
When he was in the gay porn as Mitch Bennett,
Yep.
upon when Sullivan deleted his Twitter and privated his Instagram. Um, and then, of course, he had the issues before that with his inappropriate comments. Literally, weeks after having that severe knee injury against the Lucha House Party thing, which ruined that whole storyline push that he was going to be having. But at the end, again, that is the curse of Bobby Lashley. I didn't even realize he was trained by Bobby. But apparently he was. So there you go. For the love of fuck.
I guess the last thing we'll talk about
What's the last thing?
hubbub about the hacker on SmackDown being a mixture of Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable.
Yeah, people have pitch corrected and, tried to get rid of the distortion on the voice. And there are actually two different voices used.
So, in essence, the hacker is now Ghostface by way of V for Vendetta.
Um, to some extent, yeah, probably. But then, I guess you can do a whole Loki thing as well.
It's also possible that there could be a lot the pitch correction could be done to because they know that some fans are that fanatical about it that they would actually go to that trouble, and those are the ones that would do that. So what they did was they threw a red herring out so they could try to get people off the tail.
Mm-hmm.
Still could be Xavier Woods. You never know. Chad Gable, Xavier Woods. But then again, Ali and Gable were teaming up as a tag team on SmackDown for a bit, so that's something they're not talking about either. So
And Jason Jordan's just crying. Forgotten.
well, if this kills
The
that
ultimate
stupid gimmick
forgotten
that
son.
WWE
The
cable.
ultimate forgotten son.
Speaking of Forgotten Sons, apparently they're going to meet the New Day on SmackDown this week.
Oh, wow. Just looking at this, LA Park on Facebook saying that he suffered a fractured tailbone and fractured toe in his match last night with Laredo Kid as part of the Lucha Fighter tournament thing.
Mm-hmm.
They showed the bloody cleaning that they're doing to make it a closed set and make it good.
Right.
They've literally got like hazmat suits on, and they've got giant sort of guns,
Monsters Inc.
like smoke guns. To some extent, yes.
It's Monsters Inc.
Just and the great thing is the one guy is just there with this like giant. It's like the size of a chain gun, minigun sort of thing, and he's spraying it around the ring. And I'm pretty sure like the cameraman in the corner must be choking his eyes out because he don't look like he's got a mask on. All this smoke's going in his face, so. Just want to see if there's any other stuff that's come in that isn't going to be on the news bits. Oh, there's just that tweet from 2K20 again.
Speaking of tweets, Nick Gage tweeted out a day ago.
Oh God, yeah.
Some violence.
I want to get into a fight with somebody. If I don't, I might have to hurt somebody for real. And he's like, is this a good thing to say? Considering your previous, maybe.
Speaking of that, if there was possible for Nick Gage to be in AEW, I'd be so happy with that. But it's never going to happen.
Also, hang on a bit. Oh, we got Kevin Owens' son Owen doing a drawing of Bowser's Castle, which is not too bad. And LOD turned 6 a few days ago, so more of that positive stuff on the Twitter and stuff. Don't see anything else by the looks of it.
Yay, we only went half an hour over the time.
Yeah. We went in depth sort of on probably a bit too much on the storyline stuff, but you gotta get hooked in with phonics. Or something.
We're back next week for more wrestling content. And Ashley will be back soon.
Yeah.
Actually, hoping you're back tomorrow, but that's beside the point.
There's a gaming video that's in reserve. There's obviously other sip and snacks that I need to film and get together, and other gaming stuff and whatever. I may even cover something regarding whatever the hell this well, I'm trying to think. The 2K news. We'll see. We'll see what crops up.
So I would predict that Ashley's got tomorrow for you guys. I don't know what it would be, but he'll send something your way.
Yeah, if anything, it'll just be the third house flipper thing to complement the other two. And then if it has to be Tuesday, it can be then.
I've got 4.
Yeah.
4 sip and snacks left. That's all I've got. The Stephen King short stories on screen segment's continuing. Sometimes they come back. Just came out yesterday, so that's something that's out. We've got reviews out from some new movies, Extraction and The Willoughbys. That video's out. We've got more verses coming in the near future, more reviews coming when Netflix decides they want to get off their high horse and put something out. Friday, it's the anniversary of the network. So get ready for that, folks. It'll be our Lots of content coming in the near future from Ashley, from AJ, and from myself. I got some music content coming from you guys in May that's going to hopefully lift your spirits a little bit, especially if you're a fan of the old '90s boy bands. So yeah,
Uh-oh.
you'll take the daylights out of that. So that's coming your way. Voices of Liberty. Once I find out when the Walt Disney World Resort is reopening, the week before, I will put that out for you guys as like a let's get ready for Epcot and get back on the red circle again. So Ashley can be found on Twitter at Ash is my name UK. I can be found on Twitter at Sorrel and Disney. And that's going to be your show for tonight. And as always, in a world where there are a billion wrestling podcasts, we are very pleased tonight you have chosen a podcast. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks to everyone for listening. And go buy some t-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com and support some talent. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we're going to say about that.
Sergeant Pepper got it so wrong. Because it was 20 years ago today. David Arquette just won our world title.